Good morning, everybody. That was awesome, Sam. I loved it. It was beautiful, very heart-opening. Rod, we'll talk about yours later. Wow. When I first started doing meditation, the Ashaya Ascension, what I've been doing for 20 years now, one of the forms of meditation that you meditate on is compassion. And I really didn't know what that meant. I had to look up the dictionary term or just try to get a feel and a sense of what it has meant. But as I've meditated on it over the years, it has been one of the most profound and valuable things that I have experienced. We all have our certain vices, our addictions, whatever we had. Mine has been food. It's been sugar in particular. Chocolate cake, if you want to get specific. And I don't know how long it was. Many years ago, I remember as I started diving deeper into my spiritual path, I said to God, if I'm really going to follow you, I need guidance. I really need some clear guidance as to what is the right path. What direction would you have me go? And I got it. And I've been getting it for a long time, just real good clarity. And I love it, and I'm grateful for it. And there's this thing about when you're really choosing to be in alignment with God's will, the challenge behind that. You know, when you want to play big, and I see a lot of people doing that here. I mean, this is a very dynamic group. People don't want to just be idle or mediocre. I think most of us want to live spectacular lives. And when you commit to doing that, it really challenges yourself and draws spirit upon you to say, lift me to a higher place that I can function at. And so that happens in very minute details sometimes of what you can eat, you can't eat, or what you should be doing or not doing, and just really connecting and aligning with that. The reason I bring this up is because in so doing our best to align with Spirit, I have found I fall every day. There's not a day that doesn't go by that I don't do something that I shouldn't be doing or that Spirit is asking me to do differently. And so it comes down to a choice, you know, and I used to ask myself this question. I would say, okay, let's just go through this in my head because I'm beating myself up right now. Am I doing this, you know, eating this cake even though I'm being asked not to? Am I eating it because I'm stupid? Am I a bad person? And I'd go through this whole checklist, you know, just to see all of these things. And in the end, it would be like, I really don't know. Do I lack willpower or courage? But whatever it is somewhat irrelevant. It's somewhat irrelevant in the aspect that every moment presents itself and we make a choice. Our mind might judge it as good or it might judge it as bad. But either way, it's a choice and we're left with the consequence of our choice. And at that point in time, for me, the only thing that's left is to say, can I just be compassionate with myself? Can I acknowledge my humanness? And to me, that's really what compassion is. It's having an understanding and empathy for our humanness. And I know there's a lot of people in here that meditate, and I would say for me, one of the most beautiful things that I've gotten from meditation is that there truly is no such thing as a bad thought or a bad feeling. There just isn't. And some of you might disagree with that, and that's okay. But for me, it's like recognizing more and more as I become aware of all the thought process going on. It's like watching the thoughts and all these crazy thoughts, you know, like, why did this idiot just cut in front of me on the road, you know? And having that thought, and then all of a sudden having the awareness, like, who is that? Who is that that's saying that? Who is that within me that says, I'm not happy? Is that me, or is that just my mind rattling off from old programs saying that? And I ask myself the question, really, what is it that I need to be happy in life? What do I need to be happy? My mind might say, well, I could use some more money, like to improve on my relationship, different job, all these kinds of things. But those things that you ask yourself, what do you really need to be happy? Those are the very things that you have to look at that keep you locked into the future of not being present to experience the moment right now, to know that you have everything you need to be happy. So it's those things that when I start hearing the mind be busy and I say there's no such thing as a bad thought, I'm really just being aware of that. The mind can really say whatever it wants, but as long as we are realizing that we are not our mind, we are not our thoughts, then we can have this compassion for ourselves. And that's really what we're talking about. This talk is called In Deep Compassion. In Deep Compassion always comes back for me to the same thing. And every time I talk, it will always come back to just being present in the moment, being conscious and aware. Because in that, there is the deep compassion, there's the love, there's the peace, there's the joy, there's the possibilities of life. All of it remains in that. My wife, when she comes to see me sometimes, which she doesn't really care to see me, she might see this recording here, so I think but in any case, but she's seen me enough times because I don't ever write down my talks, because for me, I just feel like in order to allow God to flow through me, I need to be as empty as possible, which always scares the hell out of me, to be honest with you. But it's also this incredibly exciting journey to see what's going to come out. Like, I wonder what's going to be said, what? So, but in any case, she's seen enough of my talks to realize, I end up repeating a lot of things over time. And I've spoken at Pontiac Unity, I don't know, maybe 50 or 60 times. I'm like, do I really even have anything else to say or share with them, Fortunately, they love me and they allow me to share it anyhow. But I have come to the point to realize that more than anything that any of us have to share, it's really the heart, the compassion that we share in the process. Like when people walk away, has something changed within themselves? Is there a deeper amount of love and compassion and acceptance for who they are? So I don't mind sharing things over. I like to create things and be new and aware, but at the same time, this journey of compassion it's so powerful. I feel very vulnerable this morning. I've been doing a lot of fasting for the talk. I always fast before the talks. And I also have my meditation retreat coming up in 2 weeks. And I am just committed to prepare myself. And I always feel like the more I give up for God, the more I get back. And it's just super powerful. But if I end up bursting out in tears, you'll know why here. So, but I think, I feel like I'm somebody that has earned the right to speak on compassion, because I was raised up with a mom, and my mom will probably watch this too here, I'll be in trouble with her. I was raised up with a mom who let me say, was raised up by her mom that was very critical. And my mom has grown tremendously as far as how she has really just been more compassionate and really just been very generous with me and my family in so many ways. But it has left that voice within me to never feel like I get it right. Never feel like I get it right. And last night, Laura asked me, she said, are you ready for your talk? And she knows it's always the same thing. I'm like, I'm never ready, I never feel ready. And I'm always ready. Andy tells me I'm always ready. But I never feel quite ready, because I never know. It's about having trust and faith that what needs to come through will come through, and that it's not about me in the end, although I always make it about me. But But I got up early this morning. I woke up this morning. I was lying in bed about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just like, I was just noticing the busyness of my mind. And in noticing that, noticing my fear, will I say the right thing, just everything that presents itself when I'm feeling my vulnerability and my insecurity. And then I had this just sweet, beautiful moment where I connected with, Dave, and I've heard you say this many times, and I've heard others say it, that we have everything we need, that we are already perfect, we are already enlightened. And sometimes I find it's easy to say, but yet there's a lot of us walking around that aren't all that happy all the time, or, we certainly have our challenges. But I connected with it in a way that I just felt like everything's good. There's nothing that needs to change, that peace is possible in every moment. And I just really felt this compassion for the totality of who I am. Like, with all of my judgments and all of my criticisms, my insecurities, my anger, my fears, it's like, it's okay. It's really okay. And one of my favorite stories out of the Bible is about the prodigal son. And I'm sure a lot of you know it here, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I will go through just a little bit of it because it's such a valuable story. And that's when Jesus is actually telling the story of two brothers who are with this dad who has an inheritance that they will be given. And the one brother says, can I get my inheritance now? I want to go out and explore the world. His dad said, okay, sure, fine. I'll give you all your money now. He goes out there and he, to make it a modern day version, he parties, he whoops it up, and, he's having a great time. And then there came a point in time where he had basically squandered all the money that he was given. And he realized he had made a complete mess of his life. And I don't know how many of you feel that way. I've felt that way many times, like, what the hell am I doing, But the beautiful part of that story is he kind of puts his tail between his legs, humbly walks home with his head down, and says to his father, I'm sorry. I've let you down. I've failed you. His dad opens his arm, welcomes him into his heart with love. You have not failed me. Let's celebrate that you're here. Jesus tells his story. The brother that stayed there and was dutiful to the father and waited on his inheritance was angry. How can you celebrate? How can you celebrate this guy when he goes out and does everything he shouldn't do? He wastes all of his money. But the reason Jesus tells the story is because he's making the point, he doesn't want us to be perfect. He wants us to go out there and play and make mistakes and just mess up. Just get messy, mess up. And I don't know about you, but I have had some of my best moments when I have messed up. And there's those times where, I'll be eating really well, I'll be taking really good care of myself, and then that chocolate cake presents itself. And who am I to say no in that moment? And I end up, just eating in a way that I know in my heart, this is not a good thing. And I've also learned God plays big. There are consequences to my choices. And sometimes I have really felt those consequences. Not because God's trying to punish me, but because there is tough love there. There's a lesson for me to get, and I know that God is on my side saying, I want you to get this. I want you to open up to the magnificence of who you are. And God lets me fall sometimes. But sometimes when I fall, and I'm in my home and I'm like contemplating on all the choices, maybe what I would judge as the bad choices that I made. There's those times where I just look at everything, I reflect on it, and I just take a step back and I say, I'm not going to beat myself up. Not today. I'm committed to treating myself with absolute love and compassion, and that I'm a good-hearted person. I have great integrity, and I want to do good in the world. Why this happened, I don't know. But it presented itself, and now I have a choice. I can either lament over it, grieve over it, and just beat myself up, or I can just dive deeper and just say, you know what? I choose to love myself right now in this moment. It's in those moments that I dive deeper and I become a little bit more comfortable and confident in who I am. There's a piece of my insecurity that falls away because I know that I'm going to take good care of myself at another level now. I wish for all of you here, a compassion for your humanity. No matter what you would judge as darkness within yourself, no matter what you would judge as you've fallen short with yourself or with God or whoever it is, that you have compassion, and the sister of compassion to me is forgiveness. That you forgive yourself and love yourself to know that we really are good people and we're really doing our best. That is the truth. I know that's true with here, and we could judge it, and our minds might never let us get to that point to say it's never enough, you know? It's like we always could do more. And I know that story. And it's just a story. It's just the mind being busy. And I think if we're being really aware and conscious that when that mind is doing that, just simply notice it and say, thank you for sharing. That's all. I think the other thing I want to say about compassion is find a way to have compassion for others, no matter how your mind would choose to judge them as bad or wrong. Because it has been my experience that when I dive deeper into what would be called my enemies, my nemesis, or those people that I struggle most with, they are my biggest teachers for compassion, always. Always. Because if I have learned a way to have compassion for them with maybe what I would judge as arrogance or greed or power or whatever those things are that I judge as bad, if I can learn how to have compassion for them, I know that I have deepened compassion within myself for those very same things. Always. Life is not always easy in this path that we walk. It can be very intense. The pace has quickened in my perception. All the challenges, everything going on. It doesn't have to be a daunting task, though. And part of that is just staying mindful and aware of the craziness in our heads, and to know that that craziness is not who we are, that that's the mind being busy, and that there's something deeper within us. There's that divine essence that resides within each of us that is able to just watch and notice. Just watch and notice. So anytime you're being hard on yourself, or you're noticing that you're stressed, like anytime I'm like, oh, okay, I'm stressed. What is it that I'm wanting to be different than what it is? Like I'm needing something to be different than what it is. That's what stress always comes back to, always. And if I am not fully accepting or embracing this situation, I'll be like, no, that shouldn't have happened, or I don't want that to happen. And focusing on that, wishing it didn't happen or whatever, is just fighting it all the way. If we can just simply acknowledge, okay, I see my mind's wanting to push back against that, and it's okay. It's okay. The mind can push back on it all you want if you're being conscious and mindful of that. The beauty about compassion is you literally can have whatever thought you want, but if you're acknowledging your humanness and accepting that, there can be great beauty in that. I got this text from Laura one morning, and I thought it was really beautiful. It was by Eckhart Tolle. And it says, "You are not in the universe, you are the universe, an intrinsic part of it. Ultimately, you are not a person, but a focal point where the universe is becoming conscious of itself." What an amazing miracle. And I was thinking of that quote this morning, and I went for a long walk this morning, and I was contemplating about this, and I had this awareness like that I am the universe, and I thought, man, I've done a pretty crappy job of creating the world here, you know, like all the craziness in the world, you know, like I think I could do a little bit better. I had that thought in the moment, but it's hard to maintain, you know, this magnificence of who we are authentically. And I don't know anybody that does it all the time. It's just a practice, right? But I think in that practice, if we can just be in that space of accepting the craziness of our mind as exactly that, it's just the mind being busy and crazy, I think we're going to find an easier and peaceful path. I'd like to just finish with a prayer if we could here. Beloved Creator, we walk this path as gently as we can, but we get tripped and trapped along the way. And we really give over our burdens and our stresses to you, that we may be lifted up into our hearts, that we may experience a more gentle and peaceful way and a compassionate way. Help us to connect with ourselves in a way that we really embrace the totality of who we are, knowing that we're exactly perfect and nothing needs to change. Help us to allow in your love. Help us to allow in your blessings. Help us to allow in your support that we can be better than we've been, and that we can experience the joy and the truth of who we are. And for that, we give thanks. Amen.